Okay, everybody, hello and welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, we're already dealing with nonsense on TikTok. Imagine that. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Already. We haven't even started. I tell you what, guys, it just doesn't stop, does it? The devil does not stop working. The devil does not stop working. And that's just one of those things. It, just what happens. It is what happens. Okay, everybody. So I appreciate you all being here. And hello. Yeah, listen, guys. For those of you who are new, and I appreciate you telling me, just ignore them. Let me just make this very, very clear one more time. I really don't care what trolls say to me at all. Because number one, they're doing the work of the devil. Because if you troll, you don't have the Holy Spirit within you. Because if you truly had the Holy Spirit within you, then you don't troll others. You just simply don't. And so therefore, those who troll are just kind of saying, look, you're not spiritually clean. I've never trolled a person in my life. Why would I? Why would I go around trying to use my words to hurt another human being? That's demonic. That is absolutely demonic. And the sad part about this, in this world, we are normalizing abnormal behavior. Trolling is abnormal behavior. So, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the presentation. And moderators, just let me know if it gets too bad on TikTok. I'm going to put sub chat on for the rest of the night, and I really don't care what anyone says. So just let me know if I need to put sub chat on. I will, like that. I won't even give it a second thought. Won't give it a second thought. And it's a shame. People are always sending me messages constantly. You guys don't see it behind, but they're constantly sending me hate messages because I put sub chat on. I put sub chat on because of really disgusting and vulgar comments that are made during Bible study and night prayer. And so I have to put sub chat. Sub chat is for subscriber chat only. People who subscribe to the channel. The trolls won't subscribe. They just like to spread their venom. And so when it gets really bad, which is most of the time, we always have to put sub chat on. I'm not even 3 minutes into this presentation, and I'm already talking about this. It happens every single time. Every time. And this is right before Bible study. It is a sad day. It is a sad, sad day. All right. If you want to go to my website, you certainly can do so. It is Bishop James Long, and you follow that on to a .com. By the way, I have 2 brand new books that are available. And I do ask that you please purchase them, not because it will benefit me, because they don't. They're my books. I own them. They're copyright. So this is the 7 Archangels Explained book. And 100% of the profits from this book is going to the MKS Kids Foundation. They're an orphanage that we are partnering with, that we're helping them raise money. And so you can pick yours up today. So just simply go to the site, Bishop James Long, follow that with a .com, and then scroll down and you will see the 2 books. So the 7 Archangels, and there's another book, the Paranormal Training Manual. And so that's, we love to help out. You can go to my website and you can see it. But anyway, you can just go to my website. There it is. All right. And scroll down, you'll see it. Bishop James Long, follow that up with a .com. And there it is. And I think it's wonderful that you're trying to help out. And we I have a 250-page or so book on a paranormal training manual that I have put together for all the years that I've helped paranormal teams. And again, 100% of the profits from both of those books, it is going to the MKS Kids Foundation. It is a doctor of ministry, Lucas. So there we go, guys. That is and now the church's site, by the way, if you want to go to the church's site, you can certainly do so. That's easy to do. And that's USOCC, and follow that up with a .org. And if you want to follow along for Bible study, just click on the Bible study link. Guys, for those of you who are new, I don't entertain questions. I'm not doing, this is not a Q&A session. This is Bible study. So during Bible study, I lecture on scripture. And then afterwards, we might entertain a few questions. But that's not what we do here. So for those of you who are new, welcome. But Bible study is Bible study. It's not a Jerry Springer show. So that's not what we're doing. And people have been telling me that my volume is a little low on TikTok, and they have been telling me that. So let me know if it's loud enough. A few people have said that, and I know that these are legit people. So if it is too low, let me know, guys. And I can move the microphone up a little bit, but it's always been pretty loud. Okay. It is low? Well, that's interesting. Yeah, some people are saying it's low. Some people are saying it's good. I don't know. Okay. It's a bit low. That is interesting. Let me just do this real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me just to check it. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it's yeah. Hopefully it's something. Maybe it was just not pushed in for, it's one of those things, it's just a regular, there's 2 microphones. So this is what I use. Now, what I could do is if it gets too low is I could always put it on my lapel, on my jacket. And I can do that no problem at all. But what I do is I put it on here because this microphone goes into this computer, and this computer feeds into all the other social media platforms. So yeah, kind of crazy, isn't it? Kind of crazy. Okay, I want to remind everybody, oh, by the way, Judy Ann won't be with us on Bible study tonight because Judy Ann she's very, very busy. She's on a really time crunch at the moment. And so, all right, I can't look at this all day long. We got to move. Come on, guys. There. All right. We got to move. We got to get going on. I mean, I can't spend 5 hours on a microphone. So I've always had the microphone there, and it was never a problem until recently. So I don't understand what the problem is. I'm not really for sure what the issue is, but okay. So anyway, Judy Ann won't be here today. Now she'll be with us for night prayer. And please join us for that. That's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you will be with us. And but until now, we're going to have our Bible study, okay? All right, again, if you want to follow along with us, it's very simple to do. Just go to the church's site, USOCC, follow that up with a .org, and then click on the Bible study link. And then when you do that, you can click on today's date, and you can follow along as our reading. Again, I'm not entertaining questions. We're doing Bible study. We don't do paranormal stuff today. That's Friday. Today is Bible study. Okay? So, yeah, this is becoming a problem, moderators. If we can just remind people, the questions are becoming an issue. So, in a moment, I'm going to turn chat off for everybody because it's becoming a very, very a major distraction. All right. Oh, man. Bear with me. Okay, sub chat is on TikTok. That's it. We're done. I tell you what, this is just, it just doesn't stop. It's like a pack of hyenas. It really is. It's like a pack of hyenas. And the fact that they think they've accomplished something by trying to distract people from Bible study, they'll answer to God for that, not to me. All right, so sub chat is on for the rest of the night on TikTok, and it's going to remain that way. Okay. And I'm sure I'll get tons. See, the thing is, you guys say, I wish you would stop talking about the trolls. Then sit in my seat. Sit in my chair for 1 week. Today, I got 6 death threats, and I got 13 comments and messages calling me a fake bishop because I have sub chat on periodically. Sit in my chair for 1 day. And then you tell me how to address it. So there's a big difference. 6 death threats today. So anyway, you sit in my chair for a moment and then you'll understand. All right. Yeah, ridiculous. But that's typical. That is typical. I don't know if there's ever been a day where I didn't at least get one. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't even think there's been a day. Okay, so there we go, guys. Let's push on, and we're going to have Bible study tonight and have a good time. Now, what I'm going to do is something very different. And normally we always ask Judy Ann or someone who is doing Bible study with me. They always read the first reading. But tonight we have a little bit of a recording. And I thought, let's try this. Why not? Let's try it. So here's your first reading for everybody who would like to know. Our first reading this evening is Genesis chapter 49, verses 2 and 8 through 10. Again, Genesis chapter 49, verse 2 and 8 through 10. And here's your first reading.
A reading from the book of Genesis. Jacob called his sons and said to them, Assemble and hear, O sons of Jacob, listen to Israel your father. Judah, your brothers shall praise you, your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies, your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp, from the prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches down, he stretches out like a lion, like a lioness, who dares rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and the obedience of the peoples is his.
Excellent. And of course, if we were at Mass, we would say the word of the Lord. All right, let me break this down for you so you can get a better understanding of what all this stuff means. So what I always do in the first reading, I do first break it down in the verses, and then after that, we go into a deeper theological explanation. So verse 2 says, "Gather yourselves together that I may tell you what shall happen to you in the last days." So what's going on here? So Jacob, also called Israel, calls his 12 sons together to bless them before his death and to prophesy about their future and the futures of their descendants. So the phrase "in the last days," it points towards both their near future and a more distant, sometimes messianic future. Life has a long view at times. And Jacob's words, I think it reminds us that spiritual truths and promises aren't just for now, but they have lasting significance that connects generation and points towards God's ultimate plan, which is for us to be united with him. You know, the last days often makes us think about the future, but spiritually, I think spiritually, it invites all of us to live with both hope and responsibility today. So being aware that our actions impact future generations and fit into a bigger divine narrative. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, 70 people have left on TikTok since I put subscriber chat on because they can't troll. See, we can live intentionally, knowing that how we live now matters beyond our lifetime. And that calls us to cultivate faith and values and integrity as a legacy for those who can come after us, and to trust in God's long-term plan, even when the present is uncertain. Now let's go into verse 8. It says, "Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down before you." So what does that mean? Well, Jacob singles out Judah as a leader among his brothers. Judah will be praised and powerful, holding victories over enemies. And I think that passage lays a foundation for Judah's tribe's leadership in Israel's history that we certainly know. Remember, leadership in God's plan is linked to honor, responsibility, courage. And the idea that others will recognize Judah's leadership, points to spiritual authority, earned through faithfulness and strength. And the phrase about hand on the neck of enemies, that's about victory. But remember, the victory here is not just about military, because it symbolizes overcoming sin, fear, spiritual challenges. Judah's leadership, thank you, models spiritual authority rooted in God's empowerment. This verse, I think, encourages us to discover God's unique calling and strength in our own lives. So whether in family or work or community, God invites all of us to lead with integrity and courage over spiritual challenges. This is why I'm very firm in standing against trolling. Trolling is demonic, and we need more people standing up and saying it is demonic. The problem is we live in a virtual world where we are normalizing, many people normalizing abnormal behavior. And we must take a stand together and say it is wrong, it has no place here, it is evil. And those who participate in that activity are in serious spiritual warfare. Because the thing is if you think that using your words and trying to hurt another person is all for fun, well, then we've lost the battle. As a society, we've lost it. The moment anyone thinks that it's okay to use your words to hurt other people, the moment we normalize that behavior, society is gone. Society is gone. And in this community, we don't allow that venom to spread, because once it begins to spread, it takes root and it destroys the community from the ground up. And we won't allow that. And it's sad to me because we are in a spiritual battle. Folks, if you think we're not in a spiritual battle, open your eyes. This world is most certainly in a spiritual battle right now. We have a world that normalizes going online, using your words to hurt other people, and then people find it funny. Whether it be and I don't really care about what they say to me, but I got so angry today. I had to turn off social media. There was a gentleman, and he had Down syndrome, and he was online, and he loved singing songs. He just loved singing songs. The comments that people made were so evil and demonic. The venom that these people were spewing. And the sad part about it is the 90% of the people in the chat were making fun of this guy. And they all thought it was fun. And it got to a point where this young man he was crying. And he stopped the live. And I truly believe there is a special place in hell for people who are so vicious. And 90% of the chat thought it was funny. Making fun of this young man who was just trying to entertain, having a good time. If you cannot see that social media is being used for demonic influence, then you don't understand spiritual warfare. And you must call it out. You must stand firm, just like an exorcist stands toe-to-toe against the demonic. When a person is possessed, an exorcist must stand toe-to-toe firm. Very thick skin, very thick spine, and stand toe-to-toe and look at the devil and say, not today, not today. We must take a stand against that, but we don't. Because people in the chat room said, very few people said nothing to defend this young man. It was, in my opinion, it was barbaric. And people say, oh, you're being dramatic. They said things that were so horrible to this young man that he started crying. And if you normalize that behavior, your spirituality is in bankrupt. It's bankrupt. We got to be careful. Even to the point where I had to put subchat on 3 minutes. On Bible study. Listen to what I'm saying to you, everyone. Clergy has to put subscriber chat on a social media platform 3 minutes. Actually, I should have done it earlier. In starting Bible study. If that doesn't affect you, 3 minutes. That is disturbing. So if you don't understand that we're in spiritual warfare, you need to understand it now. Because we see it everywhere. Everywhere. And I am convinced that the devil is not stupid. The devil is going to use everything that it can to cause division, to break people's spirits. So how do we stand firm? We look at the devil and say, you don't intimidate me. You don't frighten me. Your words are as useless to me as the dust on the ground. And the moment I begin to pray, you will tremble. So continue using your words to spread your venom. And one day when you breathe your last breath, then you will hear the flap of the wings of the one that you served on earth, coming to you and welcoming you into your eternal home. And that's real talk. That's how you do it. Stand firm. And for those of you who keep telling me, stop talking about trolls, shut up. You sit here. You sit in this chair. And then we'll talk. Verse 9, Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you've gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion and as a lioness. Who dares to rouse him? Judah is compared to a lion cub growing into a mighty lion. Powerful, courageous, and fear. That is what all of us, every one of us must be. We must be powerful. We must be courageous. And the devil should fear us. We should not fear the devil. Stop with this victim mentality. Oh, the devil is beating me up. The devil's doing this. Or have you called upon God? Yeah, but. What do you mean, yeah, but? There's no yeah, but to this. That always drives me crazy when I ask people, well, the devil's beating me up. Oh, fight back. Fight back. What are you intimidated for? You're intimidated over a cockroach? It crawls under a rock. It attacks you when you're vulnerable. No, you stand toe to toe. Devil, you're not going to intimidate me. Not today. See, the lion symbolizes God's strength, manifested through Judah's lineage. Spiritually, it teaches every one of us about the power available when we walk with God. Because when you walk with God, nothing can walk against you. Nothing. Not the trolls, not the demons, not Satan itself. You walk with God, and I promise you, the trolls, the demons, and the Satan itself will run away, scatter. The combination on the lion and the lioness, it suggests balance. See, strength combined with nurturing care. That hints that true spiritual power involves both might and mercy, courage, compassion. We have to cultivate that balance because spiritual maturity calls us to be strong and discerning, but also gentle and caring. So like a lion, our faith should be courageous and bold, but like a lioness, protective, nurturing. In verse 10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience to all the people. So the prophecy foretells that leadership, symbolized by the scepter, will remain with Judah's line and culminate in a ruler who will receive tribute and even obedience from many people. That's a widely understood as a messianic prophecy, that Jesus, from Judah's lineage, will be the eternal king. Remember, God's promises are certain and they bring hope. Despite our challenges that we will face, God's sovereign plan for leadership and salvation through Judah's line will be fulfilled. And it was fulfilled. This points to Jesus, the ultimate spiritual ruler who will gather his people into his kingdom. We all can trust God's promises. His kingdom will ultimately prevail. If you don't know, those of you who continue to follow the devil, let me give you a spoiler alert. The devil loses. Satan loses. And he lost with Jesus making a simple wave of his hand. Not even a sweat. Read Revelation. At the end of the battle, it's not much of a battle. Jesus shows up and he says, really, Satan? Really? So you want to do this today? Okay. Make sure you know which king you're following, because the devil is a counterfeit. Everything the devil does is a counterfeit. We must live with a big picture view. Our lives are threads in God's grand world. And embrace God's call to leadership wherever you are. Leadership is not about control, but serving with courage and integrity, standing toe-to-toe against those who wish us harm. And be confident in God's promises. The ultimate authority belongs to Jesus. and our obedience to him aligns us with eternal hope. This reading invites us into a very deep spiritual reflection on God's faithfulness, our calling, the promise of hope through Christ. So let me go into a deeper theological explanation for this. This passage, at first glance, may feel like simply an ancient family blessing, by which, upon closer reflection, reveals, I think, profound layers of spiritual depth, divine promises, insight, even for our lives today. So Genesis chapter 49, verse 2 and 8 through 10 is where the aged patriarch Jacob, nearing the end of his pilgrimage on earth, calls his sons to receive his final blessings. But these are not merely familial goodbye words. They are prophetic utterances, words filled with mystery, hope, and a glimpse of God's unfolding plan for history. And I think to appreciate the understanding of this passage, we have to picture the scene and the place that it holds within the biblical narrative. Okay, so Jacob, he's now an old man and perceptive. He gathers his 12 sons, each destined to father one of the tribes of Israel. This moment is rich with both, family intimacy and cosmic significance. The last days that Jacob refers to are not a vague abstract, they are a spiritual horizon, which encompasses both the immediate future and, of course, of the tribes, and the ultimate fulfillment of God's kingdom in a Messiah. What Jacob does here, I think, is more than just prophecy. It's an act of defining identity. Each son and tribe carries their own unique characteristics, their roles, destinies that will shape the unfolding story of God's people. And among these, one tribe stands out with a special honor and promise, and that is the tribe of Judah. You see, Judah is described as a majestic imagery, lion-like in strength and dignity, destined to lead and rule. But remember, this imagery of the lion is not just about power or conquest. It carries spiritual symbolism too. The lion represents divine strength, courage, royal authority. And then nestled in this imagery is an invitation, I think, to balance strength with wisdom and leadership with responsibility. Jesus himself, I think, would later be referred to as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, remember, revealing the eternal fulfillment of the blessings in the King of Kings. But here's an insight that I think sometimes might be overlooked. Jacob's blessings of Judah doesn't merely announce human political leadership, because it speaks of a spiritual kingship, one that foreshadows the coming of a Messiah, whose rule will be characterized by righteous and restoration. Remember, it says the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Well, those are signals of royal authority. It transcends earthly kingdoms. It's a heavenly, eternal reign that's established by God's timing. And I think that brings us even to a deeper theological reflection. The promise of the scepter remaining in Judah until tribute comes to him connects two realities: a present earthly dynamic of leadership and a transcendent vision where all peoples will acknowledge the king. Because it tells us that true leadership in God's kingdom is eternal. It's universal. It's grounded in God's justice and peace. All earthly authority, no matter who it is ultimately subordinate to the divine kingship, which is Jesus Christ. And firstly, the passage invites all of us to live with a sense of destiny and purpose that transcends our immediate circumstances. Look, like Jacob's son, each one of us carries a unique calling with God's grand plan. We're all participants in a larger story. We are called to live intentionally aligned with God's will, trusting that he is working through us, even when the fullness of that work is even beyond our sight. And then second, remember, Judah's lion imagery challenges us, you and me, to embody spiritual courage. It's a call to approach life's challenges, not with being timid, but with the boldness that comes from knowing that we belong to a divine kingdom that no one can take away. No one can take that away from you. No matter what troll and how narcissistic they think they are, they cannot take that away from you. Now, they may throw theirs away by judging and condemning you. That's their choice. But this courage, I think this courage, it's not reckless aggression. It's tempered by the recognition that leadership and strength, they're responsibilities. They are given by God for the service of others, not the judgment of others. And then thirdly, the enduring reign promise until tribute comes to him, it says, it reminds us that God's timing is perfect. Even in the waiting, even when earthly powers seem to dominate, we are assured of God's authority. It will not pass away. And that should encourage patience, perseverance, trusting in a sovereignty that most human systems can't grasp. And also consider the spiritual dynamic here about legacy. Jacob's final words, it shapes the identity and destiny of Israel's tribes. And by extension, the spiritual heritage passed down through the ages. So I think this invites all of us to ask this question, or several questions. What legacy are you building? Are you building a legacy of going around trying to hurt other people with your words? Boy, that's a great legacy. That's wonderful. You should be real proud of that. How do our words and actions and faith ripple forward into the lives of those who come after us? And finally, I think perhaps most profoundly, the passage draws our attention to Christ, the ultimate fulfillment of Judah's lion-like kingship. In him, we see the perfect balance of strength and gentleness, power and compassion, judgment and grace. So how can we live these truths? Well, look, we can live with hope. Even when life feels fragmented or confusing, God's grand design is unfolding. Our daily faithfulness joins an eternal story. So friends, we can cultivate courage, not arrogance, but the steady confidence to face hardship. Speak truth when you see it. When you speak against evil, serve others as heirs to Christ's kingdom. We can embrace humility, recognizing that true authority does not come from force or dominance, but from submission to God's will, just as Jesus modeled. Now let's go into our second reading, everybody. Our second reading is technically, it's not a reading. It is a psalm. It's a responsorial psalm at Mass. Yep. Thank you very much for the gifts. I appreciate that, guys. Appreciate you guys. And it's interesting because people keep showing up on TikTok just to see if I have sub chat off so they can come in and troll. And then what they do is they realize that I have sub chat still on and then they leave. Just letting everyone know that. I clearly see what's happening. Pathetic. All right. It's Psalm 72, verse 1 through 4, 7 through 8, and 17. That's what they do. They come in. Did he turn them off yet? Did he turn them off? Did he turn sub chat off so we can come in and show that we're a Jerry Springer mentality? Nope. Psalm 72, verse 1. Give the king your justice, O God, and your righteousness to your royal son. So the verse is a prayer asking God to grant the king justice and righteousness, the qualities that make a great a leader. Well, let me read it first. Yeah, let's read it first, and we'll go from there. Give the king your justice, O God, and your righteousness to your royal son. May he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. May he endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon, through all generations. May he defend the cause of the poor of the people, give deliverance to the children of the needy, crush the oppressor. In his days may the righteous flourish and peace abound till the moon be no more. And may he have dominion from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. And may his name endure forever. His fame continue as long as the sun. May people be blessed in him. All nations call him blessed. Of course, we wouldn't say the word of the Lord because it's not a reading. I wonder who this reading is speaking about. What do you think, guys? I mean, the first verse, give the king your justice, O God, and your righteousness to the royal son. Well, the verse invites us to remember that all authority is ultimately under God's judgment, and spiritual power is linked to God's justice. And that challenges us to seek God's justice personally, not just externally. In verse 2, may he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. So the prayer continues. It emphasizes that true justice includes caring for the poor and the vulnerable. Because spiritual leadership entails protecting, uplifting those who are marginalized or powerless. God's justice is deeply compassionate and inclusive. By the way, poor here, it means more than just economic poverty. It also points to the oppressed, the forgotten, those struggling spiritually, those who are constantly attacked by the religious elitism, or those people who think they're righteous judgment. There's going to be a lot of people. That's why Jesus said, there'll be many people, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And Jesus said, I know you not, depart from me, you evildoer. Well, who do you think he was talking to? He's talking to the people who use righteous judgment, thank you very much, to judge other people. I'm telling you, I tell you now, there's one thing we know for absolute certain, several things, but one of the things we know for 100% certain, Jesus, he did not like people who judge others at all. In verse 3, may he endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon, through all generations. So the verse expresses a desire for the king's reign, and by extension, God's rule, to last forever. True spiritual authority and impact endure beyond a moment of a lifetime. So God's kingdom is eternal, and living by his ways leaves lasting fruit. And by the way, the sun and moon symbolizes constancy. It's a rhythm on which life depends. God's righteousness brings stability and order to a very chaotic world. In verse 4, may he defend the cause of the poor, of the people, give deliverance to the children of the needy, and crush the oppressor. So look, the prayer asks that the king actively defend the poor and the oppressed, bring justice by overthrowing those who exploit others. True spirituality fights injustice. Justice is not passive. It requires active defense and deliverance for the vulnerable. Crush the oppressor shows that God's justice sometimes involves confronting evil decisively. TikTok. Spirituality includes standing against wrong. In verse 7, in his days may the righteous flourish and peace abound till the moon be no more. So the psalmist envisions a time of flourishing righteousness, continual peace that lasts forever until the moon ceases to shine. Friends, God's reign brings true peace and flourishing, not just absence of conflict, but wholeness and rescue. Peace in this verse is shalom. That is a rich Hebrew concept that means completeness, restoration, harmony in every aspect of life. In verse 8, may he have dominion from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. So the verse portrays God's sovereign rule extending over all nations and the entire earth. God's authority, friends, is universal. Spiritually, no part of life or the world is outside of God's reach or care. And this calls us into global spirituality, not just local or personal faith, but participation in God's worldwide mission. Remember, consider how your faith connects to the global church and the world needs. What we're doing here for the MKS Kids Foundation and our community, it is profound. In verse 17, may his name endure forever. His fame continue as long as the sun. May people be blessed in him. All nations call him blessed. Thank you for sharing. So the psalmist prays that the king's and ultimately God's name and reputation will last forever, bringing blessings to all people. Remember, God's name is a source of blessing, not a source of condemnation. So, TikTok, if you continue to use God's words and judge and condemn others, you will have to answer to God for that. Because it is not God's wish that any of his children walk away from him. But should you continue to use God's words and twist and turn and condemn other people, I assure you of one thing: you won't bring them closer to God. You will push them further away from him. And when you do that, I don't think God will smile. Notice how the psalm moves from the king to all nations being blessed. We must live in a way that blesses others and spreads God's goodness, not righteous judgment. It's an oxymoron. Righteous judgment? Who are you judging? Who gave anyone the authority to judge anybody? Stop using righteous judgment as an excuse to condemn people. In this community, we don't put up with that. If you want to condemn someone, not here. We won't applaud you. We won't think you're doing a great thing. We clearly see that you're doing the work of the devil. Here, we lift people's spirits. We encourage one another. We remind them of their deep love that God has for them. And anyone who tries to snatch that away from another human being, if you can't understand, that is exactly what the devil tries to do every single day. Every one of us is going to die. All of us. No matter if you're watching now and if you're 15 years old, 20 years, 100 years, we are all going to pass away. Every single one of us will pass away. And how you represent God really matters when you stand before the real judge who determines where you will be going in eternity. See, if you continue to play judge today, then tomorrow, well, you'll see the real judge. So if you're going to represent God, then the words that need to come out of your mouth need to be encouragement, inspiring, loving, motivating, empathy. Anything else is counter to God. I don't worship a God of condemnation and hate. That's not a God that I worship. A God that I worship weeps when we suffer. A God that I worship sends angels down to help us and support us when we are struggling. And a God that I worship will completely wipe out the devil and all of its fallen angels who have tried everything that they can do to push humanity away from our Maker. The God that I worship is a God that took the cross from the Praetorium, Pilate's Praetorium, to Golgotha, and kept stepping forward every step, every move, every foot, thinking of you and me with the extreme pain that he dealt and he struggled with, he still pushed forward for you and for me. The God that I worship is a God that embraced lepers, that held them to remind them of their humanity because human beings have stripped them of their humanity. The God that I worship is a God that defended the prostitute from the people, the religious elites, the men who thought they were so holier than thou, and they picked up the stone to unalive her. And he reminded these men that they're all hypocrites as he bent down and he wrote each person's sin in the sand and said, now throw the cat. Those of you without sin, throw the first stone. See, that is the worship. That is the God that I worship. This God that trolls project, this God that people who claim to be Christians and judge and condemn people to hell as if it's just a second. It is so alarming to me how casual people condemn other people to hell and they call themselves Christian. That is alarming to me. How casual. That is not Christianity. Psalm 72. Yeah, we need to turn this upside down. We need to turn this Christianity that's going online of hate and condemnation and judgment and venom. We need to turn that upside down, and we need to stand toe to toe against that and say, no, that's not Christianity. No. That is a distortion of Christ's message that has nothing to do with Jesus taught, nothing at all. Let's go into our gospel reading. And allow me to play this now for you. And here we go.
An account of the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, and Judah the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar, and Perez the father of Hezron, and Hezron the father of Aram, and Aram the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab the father of Nahshon, and Nahshon the father of Salmon, and Salmon the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of King David. And David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah, and Solomon the father of Rehoboam, and Rehoboam the father of Abijah, and Abijah the father of Asaph, and Asaph the father of Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat the father of Joram, and Joram the father of Uzziah, and Uzziah the father of Jotham, and Jotham the father of Ahaz, and Ahaz the father of Hezekiah, and Hezekiah the father of Manasseh, and Manasseh the father of Amos, and Amos the father of Josiah, and Josiah the father of Jeconiah. And his brothers, at the time of the deportation to Babylon. And after the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Salathiel, and Salathiel the father of Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel the father of Abiad, and Abiad the father of Eliakim, and Eliakim the father of Azor, and Azor the father of Zadok, and Zadok the father of Achim, and Achim the father of Eliud, and Eliud the father of Eleazar, and Eleazar the father of Matthan, and Matthan the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Joseph the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, who is called the Messiah. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David to the deportation to Babylon, 14 generations, and from the deportation to Babylon to the Messiah, 14 generations.
So there. Nanny, nanny, boo-boo. It's very interesting. You see the genealogy. There are people that would say, aha, but Luke has a different genealogy than Matthew, so therefore it invalidates. No, sunshine, it doesn't invalidate. You have one genealogy for Mary, and you have one genealogy for Joseph. Yes, Joseph may not have been Jesus' biological father, but by law in Jesus' time, Jesus automatically inherited Joseph's lineage. That was the law at that time. So therefore, we clearly can distribute and declare without problem that in fact, Jesus' lineage was from David. Yep, that's right. So I'm not going to read every single thing again, but I'll just give you a breakdown of what did, and then we'll get into our meditation, everybody. Okay, so this is a genealogy of Jesus, tracing his lineage from Abraham through King David down to Joseph, the husband of Mary. While genealogies may seem like a long list of names, the passage is filled with rich significance. Okay, so let's do this. Verse 1, basically, it sets the stage. Jesus is introduced as the promised Messiah. It's a descendant of both David, the great king, and Abraham, the father of Israel. It reminds all of us that Jesus fulfills God's covenant and promises. Our faith, friends, is rooted in God's faithfulness across generations. This verse encourages us to see our spiritual journey as part of a larger story. God's plan doesn't start or end with us, but it flows through history. So like Jesus, our lives have meaning within God's unfolding purpose. Now, for those of you, I do understand that President Trump is going to give a presentation from the Oval Office to the nation tonight. From my understanding and some friends that I have in DC, it's pretty much going to be this is what we've accomplished this year. So that's, from my understanding, that's going to be the presentation. So I don't know if you want to leave Bible study, but if there's anything of great importance, I will know because they'll send me a text. But that is what I understand. Tonight it's going to be like, hey, look, this is what we've accomplished. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, that's not the point we're doing here. I just want to give you guys a heads up on that. So verse 2 through 6. So Matthew lists ancestors like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, David, Solomon, and notice God's grace in the mix. So Solomon's mother was Uriah's mother. It's a story tied to sin and repentance. Remember David's affair with Bathsheba. This teaches us a lesson, doesn't it? God's plan works through imperfect people and messy situations. None of these figures were flawless, yet God used them powerfully. And verse 7 through 11, the section chronicles the king of Judah, including times of faithfulness and failure. And the mention of the exile to Babylon is significant. It's a national disaster at the moment of deep judgment. Even in dark seasons, God's purpose remains active. The exile represents tough times when consequences come, but also when renewal begins. And verses 12 through 16, the genealogy concludes with the post-exile period leading to Joseph, the husband of Mary, highlighting the fulfillment of God's promises in Jesus' birth. And verse 17, of course, it summarizes the genealogy in 3 groups of 14 generations. That signifies order and God's purpose. So God's plan is not random. It's carefully ordered. And that invites all of us to trust that even when life feels chaotic, God is orchestrating events and our lives according to his perfect will. See, you got to look at this genealogy as God's grace story. This list is less about human perfection and more about God's faithfulness, despite our flaws. Because our spiritual identity is grounded in God's grace, not in our achievements. And also, this teaches us that God does work through scandal and hardship. Because it mentions the inclusion of the wife of Uriah, Bathsheba. And the exile emphasizes that God uses scandal and suffering for his purposes. So this should encourage all of us who feel broken or ashamed to see ourselves as we're all in God's plan. And Jesus' identity is deeply rooted. And the genealogy shows Jesus isn't an isolated figure. He is the culmination of promises in history. I think we can all understand that your life, our life, fits into God's bigger story. Trust that he is working through you to fulfill his promises. So embrace God's grace for your imperfections and your past mistakes. And when facing difficult seasons in life, remember God's redeeming power through hardship and exile moments. We all must cultivate patience and faith in the waiting. Believe that God's promises unfold at the right time. Now let's go into a deeper theological explanation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our meditation. So when we read this, or we hear these big genealogy and these lists, it's a family tree tracing Jesus's ancestry from Abraham through King David down to Joseph. But with so much in Scripture, beneath these names lies a profound spiritual journey. I think it invites all of us into the grand narrative of God's salvation because it reveals the nature of God's grace. It teaches us enduring lessons about identity, purpose, and hope. Let's situate ourselves historically first. In the ancient world, remember, genealogy was vital. This is why when people say, do you believe Jesus was married? No, I do not. Do I believe Jesus had children? Absolutely no, I do not. And the reason being, genealogy was crucial. Historians that even were not Christian, there were Flavius Josephus, and there were other historians, and they would write genealogies. Believe me, if Jesus was married, they would have mentioned this in his genealogy. There's nothing there. There's nothing. There's nothing in Jesus's genealogy. I appreciate that, Emery. There's nothing in Jesus's genealogy that says he had children, and there would have been. I assure you of that. That is 100%. So not all historians were Christians. So it's not like this, they're trying to cover something up. Believe me, Flavius Josephus would have stated, yes, Jesus was married, and this was his wife, and this was his children. There's nothing. So I think we can clearly throw out this idea that Jesus was married. That's preposterous. I think it's historically inaccurate. And I think it's deeply troubling for people when they try to do this. So remember, to say someone was son of David or son of Abraham, it wasn't just about biology. It meant about being a part of a covenant relationship with God, being connected to a people through whom God promised to bless the whole world. So Matthew begins, obviously to ground Jesus' identity firmly within the sacred lineage. He doesn't introduce Jesus starting from his ministry or even his miraculous birth story, but with his roots that run deep into the faith and history of Israel. And the genealogical list here is a bridge between the Old Testament promises and the New Testament fulfillment. It announces that Jesus is the long-awaited Messiah, in whom God's promises are not only remembered, but they're radically fulfilled. Consider this. The genealogy includes heroes like Abraham and David. They're also flawed. Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba all stand in that line. Each of these women has a complicated story. Some are Gentiles, some are connected to sin, some outsiders. The presence of these unlikely ancestors, it is a radical reminder of God's grace. Because this lineage teaches us that God's salvation story is not about perfection or human pride. No, it's about God's faithfulness and mercy working through real, broken people. It's a lesson that speaks directly to us today. Many of us carry wounds and past mistakes or histories that we might want to hide. But here we learn that God is not deterred by our imperfection. No, he uses them. God's working through human history. It's messy, it's complex, yet purposeful. I think that should give all of us hope. So wherever you come from, whatever your story is, God can still use you and does use you in his plan. I think also another profound point that Matthew makes is the structure of genealogy, divided deliberately into 3 sets of 14 generations. See, this arrangement signals order, God's timing, and completeness. The number 14 is significant. It's actually tied to the Hebrews alphabet's numerical value for David's name, emphasizing Jesus as the true son of David. This arrangement, it's not random, because it tells us that God's plan unfolds with perfect precision. And I think also spiritually, it invites us to trust God's sovereignty. Our lives, they're not random events. They're parts of a holy ordering. Sometimes we may feel lost or disconnected. But this genealogy reminds us that God's hand is on the details of history and on the mundane of our own lives. Every step, every moment matters in God's great design. I think also most importantly, the genealogy culminates with Jesus, the Messiah, God's anointed king. So Jesus stands at the intersection of God's promises in human history. He embodies the fulfillment of God's faithfulness and hope, and human hope, certainly. And through him, the covenant made with Abraham, the promises of David, the longing of the exile, they're all realized. So what does it mean for you? First, it means that our faith is not abstract. It's not disconnected from real life. It flows from a lineage of God's mercy and involvement with humanity in all its complexities. We find our place in this story not by perfection, but by grace. And second, I think it encourages all of us to embrace our own story, trusting that God is working even in places in our brokenness and uncertainty. And like the ancestors of Jesus, our lives filled with struggles and maybe mistakes, they're not sidelines. They're integral to God's plan. And third, I think also it invites us to live with patience and hope, knowing that God's promises are sure, his timing is perfect. And just as the long generations led to the Messiah, our waiting and journey towards God's fulfillment, they're purposeful. So reflect on your life in light of this. How does knowing God's faithfulness across generations change your perspective on your challenges? And what does it mean to you to be a part of this ongoing story of grace? Remember, this genealogy is not just a list. It is a message that shimmers with hope and grace and promise. It calls all of us to see ourselves at work in God's kingdom, to walk forward, trusting that no story of ours is too broken for redemption, and no moment wasted in God's plan. So we should all embrace our place in God's story with faith and courage, knowing that Jesus, our Messiah, is the fulfillment of all God's promises and the solid foundation of our hope. And may Almighty God bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, let's get into our meditation, shall we? We always do a meditation segment, and we always try to do that at the end. And I think how fitting it is that I chose this meditation to put together, which is really interesting. I want to share that with you. So, everyone, this is what I need you to do. Right now, we're going to turn off chat on TikTok. I appreciate the gifts I do, so thank you guys, but we're going to turn chat off. What I'd like for you to do now is don't worry about chatting, don't worry about liking, don't worry, no gifts. I just want you to be in this moment, okay? Because we certainly need a lot more meditation and calm in our lives. So before beginning, make sure you're comfortable. If you're comfortable where you are sitting, or if you're laying down, just be comfortable. If you need to turn the lights down, whatever you need to do to put yourself in a meditative state of mind. Okay. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold that breath for a moment, and now slowly exhale through your mouth, releasing any tension or stress. With every breath, allow yourself to sink deeper into relaxation. Breathe in deeply again, filling the air, fill your chest. And as you breathe out, let go of any worries, distractions. Imagine each breath as a wave washing over you, carrying away any tension, leaving you feeling lighter and more at ease. Now visualize a warm, golden light surrounding you. This light is filled with love, comfort, and peace. It is a divine presence that embraces you, wrapping you in a cocoon of safety and serenity. With each breath, feel this light becoming lighter and brighter, filling your heart and mind with warmth and peace. As you continue to breathe deeply, I want you to focus on the sensation of relaxation spreading throughout your body. Start at the top of your head, feeling your scalp relax. Now your forehead, your eyes. Let your cheeks and jaw soften. Allow this wave of relaxation to flow down your neck and shoulders, releasing any tightness. Feel the warmth of the light travel down your arms, through your elbows, your wrist, and into your hands. And let it flow down your back, relaxing each muscle as it goes. It's moving down your spine, your chest, your abdomen, filling you with complete calmness. Allow it to flow down to the hips and the thighs, the knees and the calves, all the way down to your feet. Each breath, you sink deeper into relaxation, feeling safe, secure, and at peace. Now I invite you to imagine a staircase before you. The staircase has 10 steps leading down. And with each step you take, you will feel more relaxed, more connected, more at peace. Begin to descend the staircase, taking your time with each step. Step 10, feel yourself becoming more relaxed. Step 9, deeper and deeper. Step 8, each step bringing you closer to a place of love and connection. Step 7, the warmth of the golden light surrounding you completely. Step 6, deeper still. Step 5, halfway down, feeling safe and secure. Step 4, feeling the love all around. Step 3, almost there. Step 2, feeling completely calm and relaxed. Step 1, you have arrived at a beautiful, serene place where you take your final step now and you're standing on the ground. And in a moment, you will connect with Jesus. I ask you to listen to these words from Matthew chapter 8. When Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left. She got up and began to wait on them. When evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought to him, and he drove out the spirits with a word and healed all the sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken to the prophet Isaiah. He took up our infirmities and bore our diseases. Imagine now that you are standing somewhere in a small, quiet town of ancient Galilee. The air is warm, and you can see the small, humble house of Simon Peter. You notice people gathering quietly around, sensing something special is about to happen. And you see Jesus walking toward the house. His presence is full of kindness and authority. His eyes are filled with love, determination, compassion. As he enters the house, you see a woman lying weak and fevered on a simple bed, Peter's mother-in-law. Her face shows signs of suffering, but also hope, because she has heard about Jesus' power to heal. Watch as Jesus gently approaches her. See him reaching out his hand with care and authority. Feel the warmth of his touch as he places his hand softly on her forehead. Notice now how her muscles relax instantly, her fever leaving her body. Her eyes opening with new life and energy. See her sitting up, feeling fully restored, her energy flooding back and smiling, grateful. The simple power of Jesus' touch has completely healed her. I want you now to feel the peace and joy filling the scene, the divine power of love shining through Jesus' touch. You have witnessed a miracle. Feel the awe and the deep kindness of Jesus in this moment. And as everyone is smiling, Jesus turns his loving eyes toward you. His eyes are gentle, full of understanding and care. You have direct eye contact with your Savior. And know that Jesus in this sacred scene listens with open compassion and love. And in this moment, you don't see anyone else in the house or the scene. It is just Jesus and you. No one else is there. This is your private moment with Jesus. He asks you softly, what do you need healing from? Take a moment now to listen inwardly. Perhaps you carry wounds that you do not often speak of, perhaps at all. Fears, doubts, grief, pain, mistakes, shame. Bring these feelings into your awareness now. Now is the time to tell Christ what you need healing from. This is a time to be completely transparent, open with Him. You do not feel His judgment, but rather you only feel His love and desire to grant you complete forgiveness. Now speak to Him and tell Him what you need healing from. You may feel sad, embarrassed, angry, or ashamed with yourself. But now is the time to be completely open with Christ. Acknowledge the feelings that you are experiencing at this moment. If you are looking away from Jesus because of perhaps embarrassment or sadness or shame, Jesus is now asking you to look directly into His loving eyes. Feel the warmth of His love begin to flow toward you, healing all of your wounds, soothing all of your pain, filling your heart with calm and compassion. Visualize His healing energy pouring into you, washing away all of your fears, your shame, healing hidden hurts, restoring your soul with His gentle love. He wants you to accept this gift. Feel Jesus' presence wrapping around you like a comforting embrace, His love transforming every hurt into hope and peace. And Jesus says to you, my beloved child, do not carry shame or anger within you. My eyes tell you that my love for you never ends. The mercy that loves and flows endlessly. I want you to know with all your heart that my love for you is vast beyond measure, deeper than any mistake, stronger than any shame or regret you hold. There is nothing you have done that can separate you from my grace, because my mercy is limitless. I cherish you. With all of your wounds, imperfections, more than what words can say. Rest in the peace of knowing that I forgive you completely. Your sins are washed away. Not because of anything you've done, but because of my unending love for you. You're cherished beyond anything you can imagine, eternally loved, eternally valued. Believe in this love. Let it fill your soul. And know that in my heart, You are forever treasured. If you need to embrace Jesus now, certainly do so. Show whatever gratitude, however you wish to show. You are free from the guilt, the pain, the shame. And know that you can always return to this space when you need to speak with Jesus again. But now it is time to take a deep breath. Feel the love and healing still within you, a gift from Jesus that you carry with you always. And I want you to begin now to bring your awareness back to the present moment. Feel the surface beneath you supporting you. You become aware of the sounds around you, perhaps the gentle hum of the room. And I will count from 1 to 5. And with each number, you will become more alert, more awake, feeling refreshed, at peace, and loved. 1, becoming more aware of your surroundings. 2, feeling energy returning to your body. 3, becoming more alert. 4, begin moving your fingers and toes gently. And 5, open your eyes, fully awake, feeling renewed and filled with God's love. Take a moment to thank Jesus for his love and healing, and know that his presence goes with you, always ready to comfort and restore. And when you're ready, you can gently stretch and come back to this awareness in the room. And hopefully that helps some of you. Okay, so we'll turn chat back on for everybody since we're about to end. It's a shame that we couldn't open it up to everybody permanently, but that's just the way it goes. So for those of you who are listening to this on podcasts, I say good night to you guys, and thank you for listening. I want to remind everybody, don't forget that this is all podcasted, so you can always go back and listen to this again at a future date. So what you need to do is just simply go to bishopjameslong.com. Matter of fact, let me do this right now so I don't make a mistake. Bible study and meditation. 1 second. And you'll see what, just go to Bishop James Long, follow it up with the .com. And what you do then is scroll down to where it says official social media links. And you click on Spreaker and then Bible study. Okay? All right, so hang tight, TikTok. It's uploading now, and there it is. It has now been uploaded. Good. For those of you listening on all the other social media platforms, remember, we're going to have night prayer in about 20 minutes from now, so hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Until then, may God's blessings be upon you, your family, and your friends. And I look forward to seeing you guys in about 20 minutes for night prayer. All right? God bless.